I'd like to recognize the representative from North Carolina, Mr. Rouzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate each of the witnesses being here today. Interesting subject for sure. Regulatory reform has been a focus of mine for a long, long time. And additionally, I guess I might add, in a previous life, I was in the executive branch, so some of what I'm going to ask is directly related to some of my observations over the years. And I'll start with this. You're talking about regulatory delays and all those issues associated with it. How much of that is really the regulation versus management and cultural? Meaning, we've always done it this way in the agency, and we're always going to do it this way. I open that up to everybody.
Congressman, I'll take a little bit of a stab at that. And the answer is that it's very difficult to say it's one thing or another. It just depends on the circumstances. There's no question that leadership is always important, and making decisions is always important. And in my testimony, I referenced the fact that the decisions that the statutes give the EPA administrator to make are hard determinations. And the main concern I have in speaking to this is that the agency have the institutional capacity to make those decisions and do them in a good way. It's also true that the agency needs decision-making processes, and I was very proud that administrators I worked for took that responsibility to make those decisions as expeditiously as they could, even when they were going to be controversial. And so it's not to say, not to avoid the question, but in some ways, you have to have both. No, neither one by itself will be helpful.
Yeah. Anybody else have any comment on that front? How do we compare with Canada? Same product, same, what's the regulatory process there? How quickly do they get them approved versus us?
We have gone from being one of the fastest, most predictable systems for getting new chemicals into market and through a review to one of the slowest, least predictable regulatory environments for new chemistries. So other countries, including Canada, have a more predictable, reliable process for getting new innovation to market.
So is the regulation itself, or what's the main difference there?
I think the main difference is that there's more certainty with the timeliness of an outcome from other countries than ours right now, that has a commitment within TSCA for 90 days, and yet 90% of the chemistries that are submitted don't meet that deadline. 60% of them exceed a 1 year.
Do we have all the tools, most modern tools available to do this? Anybody?
Again, I'll sort of repeat a comment I made earlier, which I think staffing is a real issue, and the resources available to do this work, because it is a tough decision for the administrator. The administrator deserves the best possible advice they can get, and simply to handle the volume of work is important. The deadline that Congress set of 90 days is a very tough deadline. When you think about 18 or 16 years of process development and efficacy and things, then you think, okay, 90 days to determine whether or not it's safe. That's an interesting comparison, and it's across administrations and across administrators. This has been a thing that the agency struggled with for a long time, so it suggests that there may be some structural problem in the way in which it's set up.
Yeah, I remember during my time in the executive branch, blackberries were quite popular, and I was very surprised to learn even just a few years ago that in some places they're still utilizing blackberries. I didn't even know they could be serviced. Anyhow, the government is always a little behind the private sector when it comes to innovation and implementing the tools of innovation, which is why I ask that question.
I am pleased to report that by the time that when I left in 2016, we did have iPhones.
AI, does that have great potential here to improve the regulatory process? Artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I certainly think that AI is a positive there's an opportunity there to start utilizing new tools with AI. I mean, it's emerging. It's something that ACC has invested in, has recently had conversations with EPA about how AI can be used to help improve some of the work that they're doing and make it quicker.
With that, Mr. Chairman, my time just expired. I yield back.